Shalom. Avinu Malkeinu is a central high holiday piyut, a liturgical poem that has gone through many transformations in the Reform movement. Even the translation of the title and the repeated words of this litany, Avinu Malkeinu, they now illustrate the tension between the old and the new, and between the beloved familiar and newer adaptations that reflect an expanding understanding of God in our lives.
Avinu Malkeinu literally translates as Our Father, Our King. What follows these words is a litany of appeals to God for favor, compassion, and protection along the humble admission of our human sins and shortcomings. This prayer is introduced on Slichot, then recited on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and 4 more times before the end of Yom Kippur.
We're most familiar with the closing words of Avinu Malkeinu as they have been presented to us in our Machzorim. God, be gracious and answer us, for we have little merit. These words have been attributed to Rabbi Akiva from the 2nd century CE. Our familiarity with them, perhaps because of the folk melody beloved in the Ashkenazi Jewish community. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Oneinu Vaneinu, Ki Eimanu Masi, Asei Manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei Manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Uneinu Vaneinu, Ki Eimanu Masi.
Many melodies of unknown origin are often labeled folk melody. While scholars have not been able to pinpoint this melody to an exact origin, there is a recording of it made in 1948 in New York by a 16-year-old Holocaust survivor as part of the efforts to preserve as much of the music from destroyed Jewish communities as possible.
While the initial words of Avinu Malkeinu are attributed to Rabbi Akiva, as time went on, more and more verses were added, making it a rather lengthy prayer. The Reform movement's Machzor, the Union Prayer Book, was first published in the early 1890s, and the editors cut down Avinu Malkeinu to a select number of traditional verses that were liked the best, and they rearranged them into what was felt to be a more logical and aesthetic order.
It was this arrangement of Avinu Malkeinu that composer Max Janowski set to music, a notable favorite in the Reform High Holiday services. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hatanu Lefanecha, Avinu Malkeinu, Hamol Aleinu, Ve'alol Aleinu, V'tapeinu.
With the publication of The Gates of Repentance Machzor in 1978, a few more verses were added to Avinu Malkeinu. But because of the popularity of the melody you just heard by Max Janowski, these additional verses were placed at the very end. I think it's safe to say that most, but certainly not all, Reform congregations were using some combination of the folk melody and then the setting by Max Janowski.
This brings us to Mishkan HaNefesh, the Reform Machzor published in 2015. Like its counterpart for weekday, Shabbat, and Holy Day services, Mishkan Tefillah. Several versions of prayers are presented, as is the case with Avinu Malkeinu. Careful attention was given to preserving and presenting the wording that corresponds to Max Janowski's composition, as well as the lines set to music to the folk melody. But a new Machzor, offering a variety of approaches to each prayer, called for a musical response, which resulted in the publication of Shirei Mishkan HaNefesh. Egalitarian language is now a given in the Reform movement. Male and female imagery for broader understanding of God are now a given in the Reform movement. An increasing number of congregations depend less on organ accompaniment and formal professional choirs.
I was surprised to discover that I liked the new musical setting of Avinu Malkeinu by Josh Nelson. I haven't used it yet, but I hope to find a place for it in future years. It's simple, it's lyrical, but it's not trite. And it's punctuated in such a way that invites us to pause and carefully consider our supplication to God. Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Vanenu, Ki ein banu masi. Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Vanenu, Ki ein banu masi. Asei manu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Asei manu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Vanenu, Ki ein banu masi.
Today, the month of Elul comes to an end, and tonight we usher in a new month and a new year. All of the prayers and themes that our two congregations have studied and dwelled on will take on new meaning, as they should every year, but especially so after all we've experienced in a time of global pandemic. May our hearts be open to the prayers, the music, and the work of teshuvah that is to be done.
May 5781 be a year of better health and increased appreciation for the blessings in our lives. And with that, we wish you Shabbat Shalom.
And Shana Tova.
L'shana tova tikatevu, l'shana tova tikatevu.
A good year, a year of peace, we wish to you.